Suicidal Tendencies with their brand new album, World Gone Mad. The crossover thrash band that blends some of that punk charm. We've heard these guys through the 1980s, the 90s. We've not heard from them as much in recent tomes, but their last album, 13, was one that certainly made some waves whenever it was released. So what does World Gone Mad really have to offer for us? Well, the first thing that we need to state, and it's pretty obvious, but it's been talked about pretty much all year, Dave Lombardo is now a member of Suicidal Tendencies, playing the drums on this album, and man, oh man, is his presence ever felt on these recordings. And this band also, it should be noted, has certainly not slowed down whenever it comes to their pacing. This is something that still continues to have that very breakneck tone to it in some locations, but they have also exercised a lot of discipline whenever it comes to melody and trying to write songs that are a little bit different. This band kind of emanates this charm of not really caring. You know, they go into the studio and write the music that they really want to record, as opposed to remaining sort of glued to a certain philosophy, as opposed to some other bands that, you know, you listen to a brand new album and it feels like they're just doing the same thing over and over again. Suicidal Tendencies tends to have a little bit more of a variety on some of their discs, and World Gone Mad is not necessarily a different tone for that. Clap Like Ozzy is the very first track on here, which is kind of an interesting kicker. This is one that has a little bit of that fun dressed up right there, right away. The pace certainly is showcasing its opportunity to be quick, and that little element of Suicidal Tendencies, that little tongue-in-cheek that sometimes comes out, is present on this song for sure. The new Degeneration is one that is the first of a couple of tracks that eclipse the 6-minute mark. With this one here, it seems like it's an attempt to really get a message out to the brand new generation, but of course this is a generation that's very, very different in what moves them, what shakes them. The music on this is one that is able to space out that 6 minutes. We do get a little bit of a story right there at the beginning, a call to this brand new Degeneration. It at times can seem a little bit passé or a little bit strange, maybe a little corny. This is something that back in the 1980s was very common, you know, these calls to the peers that surround. It may seem a bit of a sort of forlorn cry here 30 years later, but it still has a nice little touch to it, something that a lot of old school fans are certainly going to appreciate, and a lot of younger kids will probably think it's just downright silly. But we start to get some element of, you know, difference whenever we pass through some of the longer moments on this album, and we especially look at tracks such as Happy Never After, which is more than 6 minutes in length. But whenever you get into Get Your Fight On and World Gone Mad, really what you're getting is exercise in a combination of styles, having a little bit of a slower build with Get Your Fight On, then you're thrusting into a really addictive chorus, and one that has a strong guitar backing to it. In fact, that's something that could be stated for just about all of this album, and has always been a strong foundation of the Suicidal Tendencies playbook, something that needs to really no introduction whenever it comes to longtime fans. But if you are newly introduced, this is something that they handle quite well. They have a lot of guitar fills within their tracks. It's something that provides a bit of a framework for some of these songs, or it is an enhancement process. So instead of building a tiny little shack with the adds of those guitar fills or leads, whatever it may be, the shack turns into a beautiful, you know, 3-story mansion. 3-story mansion, I meant 2, but let's go with 3. That'd be something to see, and it would probably command a lot of respect. And Suicidal Tendencies, by and large, do command that respect. They have vocals by Mike Muir that really resemble a little bit of like Persistence of Time era Anthrax, and the music sometimes is able to juxtapose upon that same era as well. But this is something where he feels a little bit ageless on this. You know, he may not have the same, you know, youthful charm within his voice that he had 30 years ago during some of the earliest versions of this band. However, it still does not sound like age has claimed all of that much from him. He has still that very sort of aggressive approach to the way he sort of commands the microphone, and that hardcore punk, or that punk influence of speed and, you know, rebellion still maintains itself after all of this time. And what's kind of interesting is the 10th track on this 11-track affair, which is the longest cut at 7 minutes and 37 seconds. It's entitled Still Dying to Live, has a lot of resemblance, at least within its own philosophy, to tracks such as How Can I Smile Tomorrow If I Can't, or How Can I Laugh Tomorrow If I Can't Even Smile Today, a song of that variety. And that is considered to be one of this band's largest real deliveries to the heavy metal atmosphere, the hard rock atmosphere, the music atmosphere. So it's a nice reference point to make. Big difference between this song and that one is that this one almost has a ballady charm to it for its first 5 minutes, and then the last two rip roars into suicidal tendency, absolute, melee, maelstrom, destruction. 2 minutes of that aggression that you've heard fed throughout the remaining tomes of this album. This is one that at times can feel a little bit off balanced because of that. It does kind of go from this breakneck pace to something that's a little bit more controlled, which can at times feel and sound a little bit contrived. Of course, some of those moments that you get with the new Degeneration can feel a little corny, a little cheesy, passé in 2016, as opposed to 1986, where something may have had a lot more of an echo or boom to it. And the funny thing is that Such a Cry is kind of necessary here in 2016, and this is an album that is very much dedicated to the world that we are currently experiencing in this year, with the political election cycle and just the insanity that has sort of started to broil and really fester within the United States over the past couple of years. So it's one that's very topical, and it's one that definitely has some of that available to it, and there is supposedly some musings that there will be an EP from Suicidal Tendencies dropping right around the same moment of the inauguration of the next president, which means that perhaps the choice that's made in November may dictate exactly where those songs sort of go. Hard to say, but whenever it comes to World Gone Mad, I like this. This is an album that doesn't as much feel like a throwback as it feels like an independent entity, and that's good. You want something like that after 30 years. You want to produce something that feels like it has enough originality of it to not really become self-parody. And this is an album that does feel like it has some original ideas within it. There is some self-parody present, but it feels a lot more controlled, a lot more aimed for, as opposed to feeling like you're writing your strongest material and it just having the echo of self-parody, and then you get mad whenever people call it self-parody. This is an album I'd probably give like an 82 out of 100 to. It's not the, it's not going to blow your mind, but if this is your introduction to a band such as Suicidal Tendencies, I feel like you're going to discover a lot that you enjoy, especially if you're someone that's a little younger and have maybe listened to groups such as Municipal Waste. There are some definite draw points between these two bands, just some different philosophies and different things noted. The songs are a lot longer than 2 minutes. I want to know what you guys think about World Gone Mad by Suicidal Tendencies. Let me know in the comments below. I, by the way, am Cover Killer Nation, and I'll speak to you guys very, very soon. Take care.